Alright YouTube, this is going to be a tour of my off-grid property. This is my view, what I look out at. Not a lot of neighbors around. If y'all can see, there's one house out there off in the distance. That's one of my closest neighbors. About right out by where the tip of my finger is, right there. So that's one of my closest neighbors. And right here to the left, you'll see my electric fence that I put up. And this is to fence in my orchard. This is a newly planted apple and pear orchard. It's got 130 trees. On the apple side, we have Honeycrisp, Fuji, and Granny Smith. And down at the other end, the other side there, you can't really see it from here, but if you were to keep walking straight, you'd then go from apples into the pear section. And down there, we have Bartlett, D'Anjou, and Bosc. So, let's go to the next. Alright, before we go on to the next part, I just wanted to show you really quickly how the electrical fence gets its energy. I just put up one solar panel here, and then that powers a battery, which then powers what's called an energizer to then power the electric fence. And I also didn't tell you guys that the reason I put up this fence is because here in this part of Arizona we get huge jackrabbits. I mean, they're like the size of small little dogs, and they will literally come up to these trees and take off whole branches. I'm not kidding. So this is an example of a jackrabbit that got in here, and they got in, they took off this whole branch here. So if you see here on this stem, the jackrabbit came in and with his teeth just gnawed off this whole branch. And after a while, these trees would start losing all their leaves, and that would end up being a problem. So that's why we have the fence. This is a big old pile of pine needles. And the reason why I have pine needles sitting here is because this soil is very alkaline. And the pine needles, when you put the pine needles on it, what that does, it breaks down and it starts to make it more acidic. And since I'm down here looking at these rocks, you guys might see there's some petrified wood in there somewhere. In fact, I think this one that's red, I think that's petrified wood. So petrified wood is found all throughout here. Back to the soil, so these pine needles will break down, they'll make it more acidic, and when they also break down, they make a substance called duff. And this duff is really good for planting and improving your soil. Over here I have a few little things for the kids. I got a trampoline and an above ground pool over there. And that above ground pool has got to come down for the winter because it freezes here. And on the ground there you see a bunch of galvanized pipe. I was going to take that and make some wind tunnel hoop houses for growing. But after talking to some locals around here, they said not to do it because in the summer it just gets too hot, and then in the winter it freezes, and it's just not worth it. So I took the advice of the locals, and now I have all this pipe here, and I'll figure out something to do with it. But for right now, it's just sitting there. Alright, this is the center of my circular driveway, and we planted a pagoda tree, and it's doing pretty good. We got some chickens grazing around it, they're happy. And I was actually experimenting with this center, and it's worked out pretty good in that I did a no-till system. So I didn't do anything to this soil. So this soil used to look just like it was on the other side of these rocks. But after throwing some seed down and some amendments and giving it water, it's turned into a little green oasis for these chickens. And behind the tree you can see my solar panels. Let's go ahead and go over there and take a look at those. Alright, here are my solar panels. We got a total of 20, 300 watts each, for a total of 6,000 watts. And this powers my whole house, this powers my well. I'm proud of this little system I put together. Let's take a look at the structure underneath. Now, my wife and I, when we first moved in, we poured those concrete and set the posts and bolted these panels on underneath, and there you go. Alright, in that little white box there is the actual wellhead. That's where they drilled down. They drilled down 325 feet, and they hit water, I believe, at, oh, I forget what that report said. I want to say 225, or no, 175. I think they hit water at 175 and drilled it down to 325. So then when we turn on the well, the water comes up and then goes underground and fills this big tank. And that tank is about 8,000 gallons. Alright, and here's a homemade chicken coop. This trailer we found on an abandoned property in the area, and we stripped it down, pulled it up here, and then we built this chicken coop on top of it, and it works really nice. Here on the outside, those little boxes you see sticking out, that's where they can lay their eggs in there, so we don't have to actually go into the coop to get the eggs. We can just go right to those little doors, open them up, and we can get eggs right there. This is the door. And it also has a little, I guess you'd call that a doggy door, chicken door on it. Here's the inside. You can roost in there, got wood chips on the bottom. There's their water. And that's the coop. Let's go check out the electrical system. Alright, this is the inside of the electrical hut. There's my batteries. It's a 48 volt system. And I'm not going to go too much into detail on how all this works, but I'll give you a brief overview. So through these two wires right here, the power comes in from the panels, goes into two combiner boxes. Then from there it goes over to two charge controllers. Then from the charge controllers into the batteries. And then from the batteries into my inverters. Those two white boxes there. And then from there it goes to the house. And down there at the left, just to save on propane, we'll sometimes use that oven. It's an electrical oven to cook. Instead of using propane, we just use the electricity. So let's go ahead and check out the water hut. This is what houses all of the water for the house, the irrigation system. I got two pumps down here. The one to the left will supply the house, and then the one to the right will supply the irrigation. This is our little camper that we have here for guests when they come. It's a nice little spot for people to come and have some quiet time out in the country. There is no city sounds that will wake you up in the middle of the night here. Let's go ahead and check out what's inside. Alright, here's the inside. It's a nice, clean little space for people to come and stay. Let's go on to the next thing. Alright, so what you're looking at here is our small little garden that's closest to the house. It has a little chain link fence around it. This chain link fence was here when I purchased the property. I guess the people that had it before used it as a place to put their dog. When they had it, there was no gardening in there. It was just, they just put their dog in there. But I improved the soil, brought water over, and now we have a garden. So here to the right, in this right part of the chain link fence, you can see these are lima beans. And they really like to grow up anything they can climb. And they are just so pretty. Let's go ahead and check out the inside. Alright, so we're kind of coming toward the end of the season here, but here we have some lettuce in this row. Back there, that big beast is rhubarb. And then over here we got a mixture of things happening here. We have squash that's overrun, we've got watermelon that's overrun, and we even have potatoes in there. And climbing that fence over there, but they're kind of dying off for the year now. That was a Chinese long noodle. Those things were really good. You could just pick them and eat them. Let's see. Here we got some basil down here. Tomato. Here, this one at the end here, this is a purple tomatillo. So you can make some salsa with these guys. They ended up pretty small this year. Let's see if I can get one there. You see that one? It's a purple tomatillo. And let's see, this here is cantaloupe. Let's see if we can find a cantaloupe hiding in here. Right there. You guys see the cantaloupe? It's about ready to pick and eat. And we got some more tomatoes in there. If you guys can see, there's one that's ripening up right there. Alright, so that's a very quick little view of our smaller garden. Alright guys, so that's a quick little tour of my property on the outside and just a view into what an off-grid home looks like. And we're going to sign off looking out toward the east. In fact, about 50 miles from where I'm standing out toward where you're looking is New Mexico-Arizona state line. And also something a little interesting, my property goes out to about that wash out there. If you guys can't see the wash, see my finger right there? There's a wash right there. When it rains, this thing turns into a river. And the property goes out to right about there where my finger is. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed a quick little view. And I hope I inspired some people to check out an off-grid home and maybe even move out here yourselves. Take care.